News had arrived of the hero's return. In this world that had been cast into darkness and despair by the hands of the Demon King, many heroes had gone to confront the Demon King in hopes of returning peace to the land, but not one of them had ever returned home before. In this world, this was a story of a group of heroes from before they had found their way home. A couple of months ago, a girl was traversing with a group of heroes, being their mage. Her name was Nina. She called out to Lord Hero, informing him that the Demon King's castle was really far away. There were now 4 of them. The others arrived and apologized for keeping her waiting. Nina was excited to get back home. They were currently on their journey back to the hero's homeland, the Paka village, after their battle with the Demon King. Until they returned, they were still on a journey, on an adventure. The leader asked her not to let her guard down. You never knew where a demon could be lurking about. She obediently obliged. They were known as heroes from the West. She knew she might sound like she was bragging, but they were apparently a pretty famous group of heroes. She just couldn't wait to get back, and finally get to be able to sleep in a bed, have a bath, and some proper food. She imagined it was going to feel like heaven. She was already writhing in anticipation. Lord Hero apologized to her for having her lead the way, also asking her to watch her step. She told him it was fine, and asked him to just leave it to her. The other woman in the group wondered if it was really okay to let her lead them. She asked Nina to let her know if she got hurt, so that she could heal her right away. Nina expressed her happiness, thanking her for her kind offer. The hero known as Lord Knight laughed out loud, exclaiming that kids grew stronger when they got hurt, and that she could leave their back to him. She admitted that she was always weighing them down. As such, she was going to do her best as both a mage and a baggage carrier. She turned around and noticed Lord Hero's disappointed face, and asked him if he thought she was tired. She tried hiding it, saying that she had never felt better, and told him that he could just sit back, relax, and leave everything to her. All of a sudden, she stumbled and fell down a steep pathway. Later, as she got back, she expressed that it was just a scratch, and that she was a girl who didn't know of exhaustion. Later, she asked Lord Hero for help, asking him to take her hand. She remembered the night before they were going to infiltrate the Demon King's castle. They had finally made it to his stronghold. Lord Hero thanked everyone for coming this far with him. The 3 of them had left Paka together, and had later met Nina along the way. They had gone through peril time and time again, and had been through as many happy times as well, overcoming all obstacles each time. Lord Hero reminded them that defeating the Demon King was not going to be the end. The journey was going to continue until they all safely returned home. He wanted all of them to return home together. Nina filled up her stomach before continuing their journey back home. She noticed that the scenery looked different on the way back. No matter how steep the road was, if they could all return back together, it would become an irreplaceable memory for her. She was amazed with the different views she got to see. She wanted Lord Hero to know that she was going to enjoy this journey until the very end. Once again, they continued their way onward to the Paka village. The 4 of them continued steadfast through different terrains and landscapes. Strong winds, deep forests, strong currents, steep cliffs, nothing could stop them. Nina was fully enjoying her every moment with them. The heroes, on the other hand, seemed a bit tired. One night, she cast a spell on Lord Hero to make him fall asleep, telling him she would see him tomorrow. Later, as she was traversing through a desert, she noticed the skull of some poor soul. She felt sympathy for the person who was all alone in this kind of place. It looked really lonely. She placed a few stones near it along with a flower before setting off on her journey. She wondered if the person also had a home to return to. As they were on their way, Nina addressed Lord Hero, wanting to ask him something. He seemed to ask her what the matter with her all was of a sudden. His eyes closed the whole time. He assured her that the people of Paka village were going to accept her. She felt hesitant, admitting that she was a bit nervous. She suggested they should just settle there for the day, asking them to wait a moment while she put up the tent. Just then, a strong gust of wind blew her cap away, and she admitted that the wind here was too strong. She apologized and admitted that they should just go to a place less windy. Soon, they had put up the tent, and she started cooking them some food. She stated that she had put chicken and beans into the soup and had added some salt, ginger, and spices. She also listed a few other ingredients and figured it was time to remove all the excess salt and let it simmer for a while. Finally, it was done. Her special pot au feu. She could tell that it looked funky, its taste was unknown, and that its smell was truly bizarre. None of that bothered her, though, and she announced that it was time to eat. She took a bite of it herself and was surprised with its taste before spitting it out. She told them that they didn't have to force themselves to eat it, but that good medicine tasted bitter, as someone once said. One of them murmured that they didn't think you could even call this food. Someone else felt like the egg was giving off a nice taste. Once they were all done with the meal, someone pointed out how their trip back was going to be so much faster than when they were coming. The others seemed to agree. They were going to reach the caravan site in just a couple of days, and they could replenish their supplies for the rest of the trip there. Nina felt nostalgic. That was where she had bought her first grimoire. She remembered how Lord Hero was forcing himself even though he was weak to alcohol. All of them had laughed together at that time. She wondered how much longer it was going to take to reach Paka. She was slowly starting to feel drowsy and tried recalling the first time she had met Lord Hero. Suddenly it felt as if someone asked her if she was tired. Miss Priestess pointed out that she couldn't help it, since she was still just a kid. She cast a spell on her, healing her fatigue. Nina thanked her. She informed her that she had also held a small wound along the way. Leaving that aside, she wanted Nina to show her the grimoire she had bought. Nina stated that she was already great at healing, so she would leave that up to her, and instead learn some offensive magic. Priestess took a look at the book and began reading it out loud before realizing that it was a book of black magic. Most of the spells within it were just curses, but it was not like they couldn't be of any use. Looking at Nina reminded Miss Priestess of her little sister back in the village. Nina remembered that Lord Knight had said that he too had children, which was why he was always caring for her. She was starting to feel bad about it. Lord Hero admitted that he was a little overprotective. Nina expressed that she couldn't just have all of them protecting her forever. She wanted to help them at least a little, and be of some use to them. If all of them ended up in some dangerous situation because of her, she would never be able to forgive herself. Miss Priestess scolded her, telling her she didn't have to think about such things. The three of them were already well aware of just how dangerous this journey was. It was just that Lord Hero felt it was shameful to say something like this, but whenever he saw an exhausted person rotting along the way, it made him think. When he would finally tire out from the road, if he could get to sleep in the home where he was born and grew up in, he would be the happiest man in the world. He could already see everyone in Paka along with his family. Miss Priestess told him to not stink up the mood as well, as he was already stinking of sweat. Nina asked her if that was perfume she was holding. She admitted that even on a journey like this, she needed to take care of things that needed caring for. Its smell seemed nice, and she asked if Nina wanted some. Nina was an orphan. She had neither a home to return to nor people waiting for her. Ever since she had met Lord Hero, she was barely managing to keep up behind him. She had never thought about what she was going to do after their journey ended. She confessed that the only ones she could call family were the three of them. That was why she wanted this journey to continue forever. She apologized for saying something so strange out of nowhere and noticed that the others were in tears. Miss Priestess hugged her, calling her an adorable thing. Lord Knight told her she could call him Dad from now on. Lord Hero seemed to call everyone, and they understood him at once, thinking the same thing. He asked her if she wanted to come to Paka village with them, if she wanted until she figured out what she was going to do next. She felt like she was going to be a bother, but Priestess disagreed. Hero told her not to be so reserved, since they were family after all. Right at that moment, she realized she had dozed off. She got herself up, realizing she needed to go on a patrol. Their lives would be in danger if they were attacked while sleeping. She got out of the tent. All of a sudden, she heard a loud roar. A dragon had emerged behind her. She began running away, scared for her life. She couldn't understand why it was attacking. Dragons usually didn't attack unless their nest had been compromised. She wondered what had made it so angry. Just then she remembered that the eggs they had eaten for dinner might have been dragon eggs. She didn't know what she was supposed to do. She couldn't fight it on her own, and knew she needed to get far away from it. She turned around to take a look, and noticed that the dragon was trying to get inside the tent. She shot her magic at it and apologized for eating its eggs. She asserted that the people inside the tent were the most precious to her, and that they were all going to return to Paka. That was why she couldn't afford to die here. The dragon let out multiple growls while chasing after her, but it didn't seem to bother any of the other heroes. Some of them were sleeping in the tent a little too peacefully. The next morning, she greeted all of them, asking if they shall continue their journey. She had been injured on the chin in her fight, and had covered it with a bandage. She seemed fully determined to continue onwards. The group soon reached the caravan. Soon word had spread about the heroes' arrival. The people wondered if the Demon King had finally been defeated. Nobody had apparently heard anything about that until now. The people approached them, but noticed that they didn't look so well. Maybe they were just tired from the long road trip. Someone asked them to let him through. It was Lord Hero's brother. He called out to him, telling him he had been looking everywhere for him, and was glad that they were all okay. He was relieved to know that the letter had been a prank, and he just couldn't believe it, so he was looking around for any kind of clue. He told his brother they could go back to Paka now, reminding him that Mom and the rest of the village had been waiting this whole time for them. There was no response from Hero. Something was wrong. Nina was busy shopping for supplies. The shopkeeper was concerned for her health, since it seemed like she could barely stand. She assured him that she was all right, and that she was just in a hurry. She quickly ran back to them and noticed the brother. He looked at her in disbelief and asked her if she was her brother's companion. He wanted to know something about them. None of them were moving, and their eyes seemed completely lifeless. He asked her why they were all dead. Wow! Now all of the odd things make sense. She seemed shocked to hear what he was saying. She couldn't believe they were dead. She walked over to them and cast a spell. The three of them magically stood up. The brother felt terrible by what he was seeing. She explained that it was a black magic called corpse manipulation. She had also cast a spell to reduce the decomposition in their bodies. She began her tale, explaining how they had been defeated by the Demon King and had lost their lives. She had come thus far to return the heroes to their land. The people couldn't believe what they were hearing. She had come all the way here, walking with corpses. She admitted that she understood what she was doing was unforgivable. She remembered Hero's words. He wanted to sleep in the home where he was born and grew up in, once he tired out from the road. She insisted that she wanted to grant their one last wish. She begged them to tell everyone in Paka village to kindly wait and welcome them home. She apologized to them once more, pleading them to do what she asked. In the end, they were all grossed away. That was to be expected, since anyone would avoid a child walking around with corpses and holding a conversation with herself. Yeah, none of the speech bubbles were pointing at the heroes. That's a really cool detail. She tried laughing it off, telling herself to be strong and to not let it get to her. She told herself she was fine. It was going to be all right, and she knew she was doing the right thing. Still, there was doubt in her mind, and she wondered if that was really true. If only she had been stronger, then they wouldn't have died. Yet, if she was any weaker and chose to avenge them without thinking, then she couldn't imagine what would have happened. She had been in tears and had bawled out her eyes when they had died. She wondered if what she was doing was just a cheap-looking atonement. She thought about what would happen if they didn't accept them like this. Rather, it seemed like the one who couldn't accept it all was her. She was talking to herself and pretending that she was talking to them. Whenever she did this, she felt like their journey still hadn't ended. They had finally reached the gate of the Paka village. It had been a long journey, and now it was time for their grand return and a warm welcome. Everyone had gathered to welcome their bodies. There was no life in their eyes. The whole scene felt extremely depressing. People silently watched them walk by. They soon reached their destination. Hero's brother was waiting for them along with the other families. She tried to introduce herself, but could barely say anything. Two kids ran past her and hugged Lord Knight. They were his children, and they called out to him. A woman apologized to her and asked them to come back. Nina didn't seem bothered and cast another spell on him, enabling his body to hug his children. They started crying. Even their mother was sad. It was an extremely heartbreaking reunion. A little girl went over to hug Miss Priestess, while an old woman went over to Hero. Nina had fulfilled her duty. She began walking away, but was soon stopped by the hero's brother. He thanked her, realizing that she had been using her magic this whole time for her brother's sake. He could only imagine how difficult it must have been for her all this time. When he had heard the news, He just couldn't accept it that his brother was suddenly dead. He had always been searching for something, anything to tell him he was still alive. It had been very painful, but seeing her come all the way back with his own eyes had taken the burden of their hearts. He gave her a heartfelt thanks for coming back to them. She couldn't hold in her tears any longer. She fell to the ground weeping. She was jealous. She was an orphan, and neither had a home to return to nor people waiting for her. Ever since she had met Lord Hero, she was just barely managing to keep up, never thinking about what she was going to do after that. The only ones she could call a family were the three of them. That's why she had wanted the journey to continue forever. She thanked them and bade them goodbye. And so she found the end of their journey and what lied beyond. Someone was telling her that the mountains were beautiful back at the guy's home. He could finally depart with no regrets. It was all thanks to her that they could move forward without hesitation. The man asked her to take care of him. She promised she would. She may still have been a greenhorn, but when there were people who wished to go back to a place where someone was expecting their return, she felt like walking back home with them.